essentially basically 6 types of loans: refinances, seller side closings, purchase closings, reverse mortgages, HELOCs, and loan modifications. Your most common closing is going to be a refinance. 70% of the time, 60, 70. It's going to be refinances, okay? And then purchases, seller sides, reverse mortgages. Reverse mortgages are not as common. And then HELOCs and loan mods, which is also not as common. So we'll go over them really quickly so you can see the different kinds. So refinance basically is when someone is replacing their existing loan terms for a different loan term. They may be taking cash out. Let's talk about that, okay? So this refinance are the most popular. So whenever you're doing a refinance, they're changing something about their loan. So it could be that they're getting a lower interest rate, they're getting a lower monthly payment, they're taking cash out, they're shortening their term. Like if they have a 30 and they want to go down to a 15 or a 10, they're changing their terms, okay? And so the most common thing that you'll see, I think, let me show you guys something really cool. People ask me this a lot about cash to close. It's a really, really common question that I get asked all the time. And I will hope this is the right document. It is. All right, let's go down to, I think it's like here somewhere. Nope, it's not. Actually, it's going to be up here. Bear with me a second. It should be. Here it is. Okay, so your closing disclosure is super, super important. So your closing disclosure is going to basically tell the borrower pretty much everything about their loan. A lot of people start with this document first, and it makes sense. Do I go through and pick it out? No, but no. If I have a borrower who's like asking like, hey, you know, I had problems before, or, you know, they're talking, it's like I kind of got to gauge them. If I feel like they're readers or if I feel like they're a little picky, I'll pick it out first. So that way we don't go through the whole package and they're like, oh, this is wrong. But if I feel like they're really comfortable already, I usually don't take it out, but you can. A lot of people do that. They take out the closing disclosure first. The main documents in a closing that's going to dictate if the loan is going to close correctly is the deed, the closing disclosure, and the note. Main 3 things. The closing disclosure is going to tell you everything about the loan, okay? It's going to tell you the date it starts. Well, it's going to tell you, let me see, disbursement date. It's going to tell you your loan terms, 30-year, 10-year, 15-year. It's going to tell if they have a fixed rate or conforming rate, or if their interest rate is going to change. They're going to tell you they have a VA loan, a conventional loan, a FHA loan. The lender is going to tell them what their appraisal value is. It's going to tell them their loan amount, their interest rate, if there's a prepayment penalty. A prepayment penalty, which is really important, you guys should know this for your own personal life if you ever take a loan out. A prepayment penalty is a penalty that you will incur if you pay that loan ahead of time. And so this was really big a few years ago with all the predatory lending and things like that. It's not as common now to see that. The only time you really will see it, usually you will see it sometimes with certain HELOCs. So home equity lines of credit sometimes have prepayment penalties on there. But usually with most refinances for most reputable companies, they won't typically have a prepayment penalty. But it's really important before you take out and use for your personal life, before you do a loan on a car, on a house, on a credit card, on anything, any kind of loan, you want to make sure you find out if there's a prepayment penalty. Okay, a balloon payment as well. Those are really, I don't think I've seen them like hardly ever. But it also used to be a thing. Okay, so they tell you if you have that here. Mortgage insurance is what they call it. People will say, well, do I have mortgage insurance on my loan? So let's go over mortgage insurance. Essentially, will the closing disclosure be the first document for each? No. The closing disclosure could be in the middle, could be the end, could be the beginning, could be anywhere. You could pull it out though and put it on the top if you want to. Mortgage insurance is basically insurance that insures your mortgage. Okay, so it really protects the lender. And so typically you'll see people have mortgage insurance when they have like a brand new loan, if they have like a low credit score. Basically, it's if you're like a high risk, and that people might think high risk, like, oh, we have a 600 credit score. No, high risk can be you know, you have a large payment and you have your credit card may not be like an 800 or 900. You may not have brought a large down payment down to the table. It's a number of factors that will go and determine if you have mortgage insurance on your loan. And so that's a common question that you'll see. People will ask you, well, do I have mortgage insurance? If I do, when does it come off? Whenever typically someone has mortgage insurance, there's usually a disclosure in the loan closing documents as well that will discuss if there is mortgage insurance and when it will come off. And it's usually when it's a certain percentage of your loan has been paid off. So once you pay off a certain amount, and it'll say, okay, your mortgage insurance will come off once you hit this payment on this date. Okay, and so that's what mortgage insurance is. And if it has it there, it'll be there. And sometimes people will say, well, I'm not supposed to have mortgage insurance on my loan. That is a loan officer question. See, we might talk about before, some questions are loan officer questions, some questions are title company questions. Mortgage insurance is a loan officer question. So don't call title because they can't help you. Call your loan officer. They're the one that set the loan up. Okay. Title company questions are like the deed of trust. Okay. Anything that's like has to do with title. Okay. Title insurance. The deed of trust. That's a title question. Okay. Certain settlement, what am I saying? Some of the fees, the closing costs, some of those fees are title fees. It just depends on the fees. But don't get caught up on that. I'm just trying to give you a little bit more insight. That kind of goes deeper. The more you do loan closings, the more you'll see. Like, I've been doing it so long, based off the question, I know who to call. But don't worry about that when you first get started. Just call the number that they provide to you. So if you want to call title will tell you if it's a loan officer question. They say, hey, you have to call a loan officer for that. If you call a loan officer, they say, hey, you can call title for that. They'll let you know, and it's perfectly fine. You're not going to be in trouble for calling the wrong person. Okay? All right, so let's keep going. The other big thing on here is two things: the property taxes and homeowners insurance. So let's talk about escrow. Lorsh. So let's talk about escrow. So when people sometimes say, like when you get to closing, they'll say, well, I don't want my homeowners insurance included in my escrow. They'll say, I don't want my, what's it called when you're in a homeowners association? I don't want my homeowners association dues included in my escrow. That you're going to have to call the loan officer to take it out. So basically what they're doing is they're including those fees, those things that they normally pay into their monthly payment, and it goes into an escrow account that the bank sets up, the lender sets up the escrow account for them, and they pay those things automatically to make sure that it gets paid. So some people say, well, I want to pay my homeowners insurance on my own, or I want to pay my property taxes on my own, or I want to pay my homeowner association dues on my own. I don't want you guys to pay it for me. And then you have some people who say, I don't want to pay it on my own. People who like auto pay, okay, they're like, I don't want to pay that on my own. Roll that into my payment. What are you doing? Make it easy for me. That's what your escrow account is for. So the escrow is set up. So some people will say when you get to that, that's what they're talking about, okay? The next thing is the cash to close, which is super, super duper important, okay? I cannot stress enough the cash to close, okay? Super, 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 super important. This is the number one thing people always want to see when they close. Let me see that cash to close. Cash to close either from the borrower or to the borrower, okay? If it's from the borrower, that means they need to pay it at close on that closing day. So sometimes you'll get to a closing and they would have paid it before you got there. They already wired it. However they sent it, it's already done, okay? And they'll let you know, hey, I did that already. Or they could want to give you a check at the table that you're going to send back with your package, okay? If you get there and you're doing the closing and they're saying, I don't have cash to close, I'm supposed to get money back, or it's supposed to be a no cash to close, then that's a loan officer question. And they're going to call the loan officer and say, hey, what happened? This is a really, 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 really common question. Okay, when people say their cash to close, the number one thing people talk about, and they'll say, well, I'm not supposed to have cash to close. Just call a loan officer. They'll work it out with them. Either you're going to pay it or they're going to fix it, okay? They do not have to give you proof that they paid it. If they paid it, they paid it. I don't think they would lie about it. If they did lie about it, their bank, the loan's not going to go through. Like, I don't think they want to mess that up. So I've never had anybody lie about sending it. Like, no. They'll be fine. Okay, so the other thing is, okay, so cash to close, they have cash to close, they need to pay it. So they're saying, okay, well, I'm not supposed to have cash to close. That's a loan officer question, call a loan officer. Okay, if there's money to the borrower, there is 99% of the time, if not 100% of the time, a form in the package that says, like, proceeds to borrower, cash disbursement instructions, things like that. They have to fill that out. They can either get a check mailed to them or they can get a wire. Okay, the one thing I always say, if you're getting $50 back or $100 back, you probably don't want a wire. Reason being, your bank, most banks charge you to get an incoming wire. I tell them that so they know. If they're getting back $25, honey, you'll never smell it, okay? Because Wells Fargo's going to take it, okay? They charge you anywhere between $10, I think the highest I've seen is like $40 to get a wire, an incoming wire, okay? So that's one thing I always tell them. If you're getting money back, you probably don't want to get a wire if you're only getting $100 because they're going to take like half of it. And you're not going to see that money. You might want to get a check mailed to you, okay? I do normally recommend people get wires when they're getting a large amount of money back. So if they're getting like $25,000, $100,000, things like that, you probably want to get a wire back because you don't want that check getting lost or things like that. You know, the mail, UPS, FedEx, whatever. You don't want to get it lost. And at the same time, if you're getting that check, we all know if you ever put a big check in your checking account and it's over a certain amount, they're going to hold that bad boy for about 7 to 10 business days. And you might have plans for that money. So you may want to go ahead and get that wire and go ahead and pay that $25 to $30 fee because it's safer. It goes right in there the day of closing. The day your loan disfunds, it goes in your checking account and you don't have to have a hold on it, okay? So I do say that whenever there's cash to close. Wow, that time flew. I had a borrower who got back $1.43. Yes, I've had a borrower had to pay 50 cents. Yeah, he wrote a little check for 50 cents. Yes, he did. If the cash to close was wired in, will it be on this form? No, it won't. They'll just have to tell you. Most times they won't tell you because it's already been checked. The only company I know that tells you, I told you my favorite company, the only company I know that tells you when a wire has already been sent is Amrock.